Fantastic Four to the stage.
Desperate mothers. It's becoming nearly impossible to get a diaper in Venezuela. Over 3,000 bolivars for one package of diapers. Good afternoon. We are Carla, Mariana, Andrea, and I, Rita, and we will present you Maxionet's case, business benefits and social good meet a country in crisis. To start putting together the puzzle that will be entering a complex market as Venezuela, we will start talking about the situation Maxionet needs to focus. There are three key aspects Maxionet needs to focus when entering Venezuelan market. The first one is the market opportunity, focusing on the trading relationship that exists between the US and Venezuela. The second one is the business model. We are proposing one based on strategic alliances. And the third one is the obstacles that will be present in the new market, focusing on the pricing strategy and the legal structure. Following up, my teammate Mariana will talk to you about the strategic focus and market opportunities we found in Venezuela.
Thank you, Rita. The second piece of the puzzle is the strategic focus that Maxionet needs for entering the Venezuelan market effectively. This is divided into three main points that we are going to be talking about. The first one is the trading relationship between the United States and Venezuela. The United States represents the 54.4% of the total imports in Venezuela, thus being the main commercial partner of the country. This data was retrieved from Trademark. The second point is the need of goods. There is a huge shortage not only of food suppliers, but also clean water, medical products such as diapers. As we can see on the figure over there, the health crisis in Venezuela is a result of the economical crisis as well, making the need of diapers increasingly day by day. And we also have the low saturated market. The former bigger supplier, Kimberly-Clark, left the market a few years ago, and it's not interested in getting into the market again, given that in 2016 it started an arbitration process with the government of Venezuela. Knowing the circumstances and these three main points of the strategic focus, my teammate Andrea is going to explain you the business model that we think can be suitable for this general circumstance.
Thank you, Mariana. We suggest Maxionet to create a non-equity strategic alliance, which means that two companies work together with a specific purpose without mixing their assets. Our supplier is going to be Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble is already their distributor in Bolivia and owns 69.1% of Venezuela's market share, with their brand Pampers according to passport information. Let me introduce you Cuatro por Venezuela, a non-profit organization founded by 4 Venezuela women in Houston. This organization works in the health center, reducing the shortage of supplies in the country. They have a scope of 130 health centers there. That's why, together, we are going to make charity events to raise money to buy the diapers and donate it to them. Our corporate partner is going to be Farmacia SAS. Farmacia SAS is the biggest pharmaceutical franchise in Venezuela, with presence in 54 cities. Now that we know the what and the who, my partner Carla is going to explain us the how.
Thanks, Andrea. Well, This action plan consists of building up a brand positioning strategy, focusing on the humanitarian help we want to provide, and also the founding sources to achieve an immediate acceptance in the local market, so later on we can work on the long-term brand stability. For this to happen, we are proposing the next timeline with the following steps. First up, it's necessary to achieve an agreement with P&G concerning a bulk line. This mainly to reduce the packaging cost so we can sell the product at a lower price. Then we need to have really strong partnership with Cuatro por Venezuela because they have the know-how of distribution in all the country. Once we have this relationship with both organizations, we're going to be launching the different charity events in the United States, mainly through marathons and concerts. All this money raised will be used to buy directly to P&G in the different bulk packages that we are planning on sending to Venezuela in containers of 250,000 units each. Once in Venezuela, Cuatro por Venezuela is going to be the channel to distribute all these different diapers in the hospitals, medical clinics, and health centers they already work on. This is how we're going to get the immediate acceptance and also reach one of the most important goals, that is social work. But at the same time, we're having a positive and quick response from the local market. Then we're entering the next phase of this strategy. It's based on a long-term profitable model in collaboration with P&G and Farmacias SAS. This is because Farmacias SAS is the one in charge to sell directly to our customer. One of the most important points is the marketing strategy. This one is going to consist on a campaign in different Latin American markets in which Maxianet already has presence along with P&G, such as Mexico and Ecuador. This campaign is going to promote the willingness of Maxianet of actively helping Venezuela by assigning a percentage of its profits to the supply chain that is going to get into Venezuela. This way, we're taking into account a low profit margin, but also we know the necessity of low costs in Venezuela. Next up, once the diapers are already in Venezuela, Farmacias SAS is going to buy all these products directly from Maxianet and distribute them in the different 54 cities. So the price is quite accessible for all the market in Venezuela. This way, we're going to achieve a long-term relationship with the country because at the time, it will be one of the best options available. As a final step, we're proposing to keep contact with the different organizations we're working on to maintain the presence in Venezuela and maybe work on future projects and add different product lines. This way, we're helping P&G to gain a great percentage of the territory in Venezuela, and at the same time, we are giving Farmacias SAS a great opportunity to improve its liquidity because we are potentializing its sales and popularity in Venezuela. But the most important thing is that we are providing the population a great option to have access to one of the most important products for childcare. We know the importance of the low price in this country, and this is why my partner Rita is going to be explaining the pricing strategy.
Thank you, Carla. For the pricing strategy, we are proposing a cost-plus pricing. This strategy consists on totaling the cost of the product and then adding the percentage of the profit margin the company wants to earn. We chose this strategy mainly for two reasons. First is that in Venezuela there's hyperinflation, so the consumers don't care about the value and differentiation of products, but about the cost and prices. Secondly, there is a law called the Fair Prices Law, in which the government fixes prices of certain products. This law also states that companies can't earn more than 30% of margin of the total product cost. Taking this into account, we searched for the main costs for Maxianet, and we discovered that the transportation costs were the biggest cost, and it accounting for $4,600 per 140-feet container. Another important cost to take on account are insurance costs, taxes as value-added tax, and custom fees and duties. To mitigate these costs, we came up with two strategies. The first one is the internal strategy that my teammate Carla explained earlier, where we propose to allocate a fixed percentage of revenues obtained from other products in other markets to fund logistic costs and reduce the cost in Venezuela. On the other hand, we propose external funding strategy. There are some international development banks that offer funding and consultancy for companies who want to export to countries in humanitarian crisis as Venezuela. Some of these banks are the Inter-American Development Bank and the Andean Development Corporation. There are also some private foundations, as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who give donations to for-profit corporations as Maxianet. Up next, my teammate Mariana will explain to you the value proposition we found for Maxianet in this new market.
Thank you, Rita. Once we know the what, the why, the who, and the how, we can get to the last piece of the puzzle, which is the value proposition, which is Maxianet itself. Why is that? As I mentioned at the beginning, the United States and Venezuela have a really close trading relationship, and that helps Maxianet to do its transactions. Maxianet is based in San Diego, California, and it also has headquarters in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, which helps it to have its warehouses for the products that are going to be imported within the country. As we can see on the figure, several products have been imported into Venezuela, not only in the food and beverage sector, but also for the hygiene and beauty, which will help to understand better how the market behaves and how they will react depending on the costs and prices that we will be managing. Because of all these reasons, we can get to analyze and understand that Maxianet will bring a value proposition, not only a supply chain. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Can you walk us once again through the process as far as Maxianet, Cuatro por Venezuela, Farmacias, SAS, and then Procter & Gamble? Or I guess Procter & Gamble, Maxianet, Cuatro por Venezuela, y Farmacias, SAS. As far as the whole transaction process and how that works. As in,
Okay, so there will
Maxianet's
be
going to buy the product?
Yeah, there will be like two lines. One is the donation part, because we realized that the case emphasized the humanitarian focus that the company wanted to give. So there will be the donation line, which is working together with Cuatro por Venezuela, and the profitable line, which will be working with the Farmacias SAS, which is the biggest pharmaceutical group in Venezuela, and it already has the know-how and the distributor process. So we will give our supplier will be Pampers or Procter & Gamble. So we will buy the diapers from them and then sell them to SAS. And we will use the distribution process of Cuatro por Venezuela to distribute to the hospitals and clinics.
And then would that be this in bulk for both scenarios, for the clinics and health centers and Farmacias SAS, one bulk unit, or?
Yes, it would be both in bulk. First, for the donations, well, it would be a lot easier for Cuatro por Venezuela to distribute these huge packages. We are thinking about 240 per package, but also it will work for Farmacias SAS because they have already this kind of distribution for Venezuelan brands. However, we identified that they care more a lot about quality, and they know that American products are quite better for them. So that's why we are proposing that Pampers has this new distribution line within Farmacias SAS as a bulk.
Okay. And then the price would be eaches or would be
It will be
bulk package?
what we saw is that people in Venezuela,
I mean the retail price.
live like by the day. So if you sell the normal 30 diapers per package, it's too expensive for them. So that's why we came with the idea to deliver a bulk package, and then the pharmacy or the drugstore can sell it individual, and people can buy what they need for the day instead of buying a lot.
Taking out the cost of packaging, what would you estimate as profit would be as far as for Maxianet on a cell unit?
We saw that it was around 5% because of the mitigation strategy, like Maxianet funds itself with another revenue from other countries, so that will help them reduce their cost to get to the market.
Thank you.
Great job. I believe you said that Procter & Gamble has already captured about 69% of market share. So why would they want to partner with Maxianet?
They would like to partner because they are focusing on the commercial lines. So they are actually selling in supermarkets, but the supermarkets are running out of supplies as well. Not really into the pharmaceutical sector, and neither in the healthcare. So they sell their products, but they are not really donating them. So that's why it could help them as well to work with Maxianet, because we will help them to get in touch with Cuatro por Venezuela, which will be in charge of distributing the products to hospitals and clinical cares. And that fact and those actions will help also P&G to get popularity among the country, and it's not just like looking at them like a commercial industry that is interested in the money of the consumers, but is also a company that is worrying about the humanitarian impact.
So Procter & Gamble is currently not partnering with any NGO humanitarian organizations.
It does have an alliance with UNICEF, but in Africa. We were doing research and we found out that they had Get One, and they give one vaccine, for example, in Africa, but not in Venezuela, because of the regulations that the government has over the charity actions that NGOs try to do within the country. So having Cuatro for Venezuela, which is a non-profitable organization, and it already has like the permits to do different charity events or charity actions within the country, it is easier to reach hospitals and clinical.
Okay, my last question is, what would you say is Maxianet's single biggest challenge in entering the Venezuelan market?
We think that the most important problem or challenge is the government regulations and volatility of the market. We saw that one day the government fixes the price of a product at one point, and the next day they change it to another price. So there's a lot of volatility in the market, and one day the price could be higher than your cost, but the next day it could be lower. So we think that that's the most important challenge for you.
So I can understand why P&G would need us to enter this market, but when things stabilize there, what is the long-term security for Maxianet and for your organization as well?
So we know that the long term is working directly with Farmacias SAS, and just due to the fact of what Rita already said, that the price is, we cannot fix them And we know also that we cannot enter the market with a really low price, like to be the best option, because the government wouldn't allow us to do that. We have to adapt to what the regulations are. So that's why we're proposing this as a long-term relationship, because we know that maybe at the beginning, even with the foundations, we won't be able to gain as much as we would want to. But the point is to first establish ourselves as a company that really is interested in the market and wants to collaborate not just economically, but also humanitarian. So this is the main point of why we're planning to introduce ourselves as well in the commercial market, but later on, not like at the beginning of the strategy.
Why SAS and not Farmatodo?
Because SAS has a bigger presence. They are the #1 pharmaceutical center, and also Farmatodo has its own diapers brand. And also, Farmatodo has some troubles with the government because of their prices. So that's why we chose SAS.
Who's Farmatodo sourcing their diapers from?
Sorry?
Who is Farmatodo sourcing their diapers from? Where are they buying them?
Their own brand is local produced and local distributed.
For the events that you guys are going to throw to raise the money, who's paying for those events at the onset?
The charity events? Okay. So for the charity events, we know with the American legal structure that we actually can do these sort of events with the help of a non-profit organization that in this case would be Cuatro por Venezuela, and they also allow us to use their name on the different events. So that's how we're going to promote the different charity for the people to know that all this money raised is going to be directly used in Venezuela. And because the organization is also recognized in the United States, people can be sure that the money will be well used.
One more question. What would be the next country you guys would use this model for?
There are many ones. Yeah. Yeah. But we believe that Ecuador is a good market possibility for MaxiSnet. Given that in Mexico it's pretty close to the United States, so it's like an easier relationship given the TLC we have. And Colombia, it already has a good commercial partnership with the United States as well. And Ecuador is facing somehow an economical crisis too, just like Venezuela. There is a huge civil war somehow, like it happens in Colombia. So the market is pretty easy to study and also to analyze the opportunities that it may represent to have transactions over there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fantastic Four.